The massive observation deck of the Zarin Empire's flagship Eternal Dawn fell silent as the unknown vessel appeared on their scanners. High Commander Vexthor's crystalline scales shifted from their usual deep purple to an anxious blue as he studied the approaching ship. It was unlike anything the Zarin had encountered in their 1,000 years of space exploration. Crude by their standards, but somehow elegant in its simplicity. "Unknown vessel approaching, High Commander," announced First Officer Kerezin, her voice carrying a mix of curiosity and concern. "Their propulsion system appears to be primitive fusion-based technology." Vexthor's inner eyelids flickered in contemplation. The Zarin Empire had ruled this sector of the galaxy unopposed for centuries, their crystalline technology far surpassing anything their client species could develop. But something about this vessel felt different. "They're broadcasting a message, sir," Kerezin reported. "Audio and visual, using basic electromagnetic waves." "Let us hear what these primitives have to say," Vexthor commanded, his scales rippling with barely contained anticipation. The holographic display came to life, showing a being unlike any in the Empire's vast database. It stood upright, with soft pink skin and strange fur on its head. When it spoke, its words were automatically translated by the ship's eye. "Greetings, I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earthship Pioneer. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge exchange." The next 6 months marked a period of unprecedented cultural and technological exchange. The humans, as they called themselves, proved to be remarkably adaptable and quick to learn. Their scientists absorbed Zarin knowledge with stunning speed, while their engineers offered surprisingly innovative solutions to problems the Zarin had long considered unsolvable. But it was precisely this rapid advancement that began to worry the Zarin High Council. In less than half a year, humans had already begun incorporating crystalline technology into their own systems, sometimes in ways the Zarin had never considered. Their population was expanding, their ships were becoming more numerous, and their questions were growing more probing. "They're dangerous," declared Council Elder Moxter during an emergency session. "Their rate of advancement is unprecedented. In a few decades, they could rival our power." Vexthor, who had grown to respect the humans, tried to argue for patience. "They've shown no hostile intent. Their innovations could benefit the entire empire." "That's precisely what makes them dangerous," Moxter countered. "They don't need hostile intent to be a threat. Their very nature, this endless drive to improve, to question, to change, it threatens the stability we've maintained for a millennium." The debate raged for days, but in the end, fear won out over friendship. The Zarin High Council made their decision. Humanity would be eliminated before it could become a true threat. The attack came without warning. Thousands of Zarin warships emerged from quantum space around Earth and its colonies. The humans fought back with remarkable courage and ingenuity, even managing to destroy several Zarin vessels using hastily adapted crystalline technology. But they were hopelessly outgunned. As the Zarin fleet prepared their final assault, Vexthor stood on his bridge, scales now a deep gray of mourning. He had opposed this action, but was bound by his oath to carry it out. However, something strange was happening. His sensors showed massive energy signatures from the surface of Earth, unlike anything they'd detected before. "Sir," Kerezin called out, her scales paling to white, "we're detecting thousands of quantum fluctuations across the planet." Before Vexthor could respond, the impossible happened. Earth's cities began to vanish, along with their ships, their stations, and their people. In less than an hour, billions of humans simply disappeared, leaving behind empty ruins and a haunting message broadcast on all frequencies. "You have taught us well, friends turned foes. You showed us the power of your crystalline technology, and we showed you how quickly we could master it. You feared what we might become, and in doing so, you have guaranteed it. We leave now, but make no mistake, we will return. And when we do, you will understand why you were right to fear us." As Vexthor stared at the empty planet below, His scales shifted to the deep red of terror. The humans hadn't just survived. They had taken the Zaren's greatest technological achievement, quantum translocation, and improved it to an unimaginable scale. They had escaped not in fear, but in defiance. The message continued, its final words echoing through every Zaren ship. You thought you were gods among the stars, but you forgot one crucial truth. Gods don't feel fear. Remember this day, for it marks not our end, but our beginning. As the last echoes of the transmission faded, Vexthor realized that the High Council's worst fear had come true, not through military might or technological superiority, but through their own actions. They had created the very thing they sought to prevent, a humanity united in purpose, armed with advanced technology, and now driven by an unshakable determination to survive and return. The empty Earth hung in space like a monument to their mistake, and somewhere out in the vast unknown, humanity was already evolving into something far beyond what the Zaren could imagine. The Empire had won this battle, but Vexthor knew with terrible certainty that they had just sown the seeds of their own eventual downfall. In the vast emptiness of uncharted space, the remnants of humanity drifted like ghosts among the stars. The quantum translocation had worked better than anyone had dared to hope, but it had scattered Earth's population across dozens of unknown systems. Captain Sarah Chen, now admiral of what remained of Earth's fleet, stood at the command center of the makeshift space station Hope's Harbor, watching as another group of refugee ships emerged from quantum space. Status report on the new arrivals, she commanded, her voice steady despite the exhaustion evident in her eyes. 312 ships. Admiral, responded Commander James Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface they'd salvaged from Zaren technology. Mostly civilian vessels from the Mediterranean colonies. Their quantum drives are nearly burnt out, but they made it. The quantum translocation had been humanity's greatest gamble. When their scientists discovered the Zaren were planning to attack, they had secretly modified the Empire's translocation technology, pushing it far beyond its intended capabilities. Instead of moving ships or small stations, they had moved entire cities, millions of people, and countless resources in a desperate bid for survival. How many have we found so far? Sarah asked, though she knew the numbers by heart. Just over 4 billion, James replied. Almost half of our total population. The quantum network is still picking up signals from other groups, but they're scattered across thousands of light years. Sarah nodded, her jaw set with determination. The scattering hadn't been a flaw in their plan. It was a feature. Humanity had deliberately spread itself across as much space as possible, making it impossible for the Zaren to find them all. But now came the harder part, surviving and rebuilding. In the months that followed, humanity proved why the Zaren had been right to fear them. The very technologies that had been meant to destroy them became the foundation of their resurrection. The crystalline computers they'd stolen from the Empire were dissected, improved, and repurposed. The quantum drives that had saved them were redesigned, becoming more efficient and powerful with each iteration. Deep in unexplored space, far from the Empire's prying eyes, the first stealth colonies took shape. These weren't the crude habitats of refugees. They were marvels of engineering that put Zaren cities to shame. Using modified crystalline technology, humans learned to bend light around entire planets, making them invisible to conventional sensors. They developed quantum communication systems that left no trace in regular space, allowing the scattered colonies to coordinate without detection. But perhaps most remarkably, they learned to turn their greatest weakness, their division, into their greatest strength. Each colony developed independently, pursuing different paths of technological and social evolution. Some focused on biological enhancement, adapting their bodies to survive in the harshest environments. Others dove deep into artificial intelligence, creating synthetic minds that could outthink even the most advanced Zaren systems. In her private quarters aboard Hope's Harbor, Sarah reviewed the reports from these scattered colonies with a mixture of pride and amazement. The Novaterra group had developed crystals that could store and process quantum information 1,000 times more efficiently than Zaran technology. The Prometheus colony had created ships that could phase partially out of normal space, becoming virtually untouchable in combat. They thought we would break, she murmured to herself, touching the old Earth pendant she always wore. Instead, we've become something they couldn't imagine. But not everything was proceeding smoothly. Reports from their deep space scouts indicated the Zaran Empire had launched massive search operations determined to find any human survivors. They were especially interested in recovering their stolen crystalline technology, not realizing that what humanity now possessed had already evolved far beyond the original designs. During a council meeting with leaders from the various colonies, connected through their secure quantum network, Sarah laid out the next phase of their plan. "We've survived," she declared, her holographic image appearing simultaneously in council chambers across thousands of light years. "Now it's time to prepare. The Zaran Empire believes they've eliminated a threat, but they've only forced us to become stronger. Each of our colonies has developed technologies and abilities that would have been impossible on Earth. Together, we're becoming something new, something that transcends what humanity used to be." The colonial leaders nodded in agreement. They had all seen the transformation in their people. The harsh reality of exile had stripped away old divisions and prejudices, replacing them with a singular focus on survival and advancement. "But we must be patient," Sarah continued. "The Empire is still searching for us, and they're still too powerful to confront directly. We need more time to develop our technologies, to strengthen our positions, to become not just survivors, but a force that can reshape the galaxy." The council agreed to maintain their silent vigil, hidden in the shadows of distant stars. They would continue to watch, to learn, to grow stronger. Quantum probes were dispatched throughout Zaran space, gathering intelligence while remaining completely undetectable. New colonies were established in strategic locations, each one harder to find than the last. As the council session ended, Sarah stood at her favorite observation window, watching as engineers tested a new type of quantum drive that could move ships without leaving any trace in regular space. In the distance, massive construction projects were underway, building ships and weapons unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "We're not just surviving anymore," she thought, her reflection overlaid against the starfield beyond. "We're evolving into something new. And when we finally return, the Empire will learn that their greatest mistake wasn't trying to destroy us. It was giving us the tools and motivation to become something far more powerful than they ever dreamed possible." 50 years had passed since humanity's great exodus, and Dr. Maya Patel could hardly believe she was looking at the same species. From her laboratory in the Prometheus colony's Advanced Research Division, she observed as test subject Marcus Chen, a third-generation exile, interfaced directly with the colony's quantum mainframe through neural implants that would have seemed like magic to pre-Exodus humans. Neural synchronization at 100%, Marcus reported, his consciousness extending through the quantum network that connected all human colonies. "I can feel the sensor arrays on the outer rim. There's a stellar phenomenon occurring in Sector 7 that you might want to look at." Maya made a note but kept her focus on the broader implications. The integration of human consciousness with quantum systems had been their greatest breakthrough, one that the Zaran Empire had never even considered possible. Their crystalline technology had been designed to be operated, not merged with. "Your father would be proud," Maya said to Marcus, thinking of Sarah Chen's son, who had followed his mother's path of leadership, but in the scientific realm. He was one of the first to suggest that human consciousness could interact directly with quantum states. In another part of the colony, Dr. James Rodriguez Jr., son of the former commander, was putting the finishing touches on the next generation of stealth ships. These vessels weren't just invisible. They existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, capable of being in multiple places simultaneously until observed. The Zaran's own technology had been turned against them in ways they couldn't have imagined. The quantum probability drive is ready for final testing, James announced over the secured channel. If it works as designed, we'll be able to move entire fleets without even the theoretical possibility of detection. But perhaps the most dramatic changes were happening in the biological realm. In the Genesis colony, specialists had cracked the code of human evolution itself. Using a combination of controlled genetic modification and quantum-enhanced cellular engineering, they had begun to create humans who were adapted not just to survive in space, but to thrive there. Dr. Aisha Hassan, head of the Genesis project, stood before the Colonial Council's quarterly meeting, her holographic form projected simultaneously across all human settlements. "We're no longer just Homo sapiens," she explained. "We've become Homo stellaris, humans of the stars. Our latest generation can process information faster, survive in more extreme conditions, and interact with quantum systems as naturally as our ancestors used tools." The changes weren't limited to biology and technology. Human society itself had evolved, shaped by the crucible of their exile. The old nations and divisions had melted away, replaced by a unified human culture that still celebrated diversity, but recognized their shared destiny. The children born in exile knew Earth only through historical records, but they carried within them a burning determination to reclaim their ancestral home. In the military sphere, Admiral Chen's successor, Admiral Maya Rodriguez, oversaw the development of combat systems that operated on principles the Zarin couldn't comprehend. Their ships now carried weapons that could alter the fundamental forces of reality itself. "The quantum destabilizers are ready," reported Fleet Commander Yuki Tanaka, demonstrating a weapon that could temporarily suspend the laws of physics in a localized area. "One shot can disable a Zarin crystalline matrix without harming the crew. We've become powerful enough to show mercy." But perhaps the most significant advancement came from an unexpected quarter. Dr. Victor Mbeki, working in the Quantum Archaeology Division, made a discovery that would change everything. While studying the fundamental nature of space-time through their enhanced quantum sensors, he found something extraordinary. "Space itself remembers," he announced to a stunned council. "Every event leaves quantum echoes that we can now detect and interpret. We can see the Zarin Empire's movements, their plans, their fears, not just now, but stretching back through time." This discovery led to the creation of the Quantum Historical Archive, a vast database that could reconstruct historical events by reading these quantum echoes. Through it, humanity gained unprecedented insight into their old enemy. They saw how the empire had stagnated, how their fear of change had led them to suppress innovation, and how their attempt to destroy humanity had inadvertently created their worst nightmare. As the 50th anniversary of the Exodus approached, the scattered colonies of humanity had become something unprecedented in galactic history. They were no longer refugees hiding from a superior force. They had transformed into a civilization that had surpassed their former oppressors in every meaningful way. In a secure quantum bubble near the edge of known space, the Colonial Council gathered for what would be their most important meeting since the Exodus. The chamber was filled with the descendants of those who had fled Earth, each of them a testament to humanity's capacity for adaptation and growth. Admiral Rodriguez stood before them, her quantum-enhanced mind connected to the vast network that united all human settlements. "For 50 years, we have hidden, grown, and evolved," she declared. "We've become something new, something that transcends what the Zarin thought possible. The question before us now is not whether we can return, but whether we should reveal ourselves as we truly are." The council chamber erupted in discussion, their quantum-linked minds sharing thoughts and possibilities at the speed of consciousness itself. They had achieved what their ancestors could only dream of, but with that power came responsibility. The decision they would make would determine not just humanity's future, but the future of the galaxy itself. As the debate continued, in laboratories and shipyards across human space, the next generation of innovations was already taking shape. They had learned the greatest lesson of their exile. True power lay not in the strength to destroy, but in the capacity to transform. The Zarin Empire had tried to end humanity's story, but they had only written its prelude. The Zarin Empire's Grand Observatory was in chaos. Chief Observer Rick Stahl's crystalline scales flashed rapidly between colors as he struggled to comprehend the readings before him. In the past month, over 100 spatial anomalies had been detected throughout Imperial space, each lasting only microseconds before vanishing. High Commander, Rick Stahl addressed the holographic projection of Commander Selvin, descendant of the legendary Vexthor. The anomalies. They're forming a pattern. Selvin's scales shifted to a deep blue of concern. The Empire had spent 50 years trying to forget their greatest shame, the day they had failed to eliminate humanity. Most young Zarin now believed humans were just a cautionary tale, a story of why inferior species shouldn't be trusted with advanced technology. But Selvin knew better. His ancestors' warning had been passed down through generations of his family. They will return, and when they do, they will be beyond our understanding. Suddenly, every quantum communication device in the Empire activated simultaneously. On thousands of worlds, millions of screens, and across every frequency, a message began to play. The figure that appeared was clearly human, but unlike any the Empire had ever known. Admiral Maya Rodriguez stood with quiet confidence, her neural interfaces slightly visible beneath her skin, her eyes holding the wisdom of both organic and quantum processing. When she spoke, her words were transmitted in perfect Zarin, resonating with crystalline harmony that showed complete mastery of their technology. People of the Zarin Empire, 50 years ago, your leaders tried to destroy humanity because they feared what we might become. Today, you will learn if that fear was justified. Across Imperial space, quantum distortions began to form. But unlike the crude translocation technology the Zarin knew, these distortions bent reality itself. Massive ships emerged, their designs defying conventional physics. They were beautiful and terrible, organic and mechanical, existing simultaneously in multiple quantum states until observed. On the Imperial capital world, panic erupted as the sky filled with human vessels. Their ships didn't need to fire a single shot. They simply existed in ways that made Zarin defensive systems irrelevant. Crystal shields designed to block energy weapons were useless against ships that could phase through solid matter. Quantum detection grids couldn't track vessels that existed in probability clouds rather than fixed positions. In the Imperial Palace, the High Council gathered in emergency session. Their worst nightmare had come true, but in ways they couldn't have imagined. The humans hadn't just survived and advanced. They had evolved into something that made the Empire's greatest achievements look primitive. "We should strike now," urged Council Elder Kexmar, his scales pulsing with aggressive red patterns. "While we still have a chance." "A chance at what?" Selvin countered, entering the chamber. "Look at what they've become. Their ships aren't just more advanced. They operate on principles we can't even detect, let alone understand." As if to prove his point, a human representative materialized in the center of the council chamber. Dr. Marcus Chen, grandson of the original Captain Sarah Chen, stood before them. His presence wasn't a hologram or projection. He had quantum tunneled his consciousness directly into their secure facility. "Your weapons can't harm what they can't fix in space-time," Marcus explained, his voice carrying the same crystalline resonance as Admiral Rodriguez. "We're not here for revenge. We're here to end an era of fear." Throughout the Empire, more human ships appeared. But instead of attacking, they began sharing their advances. Quantum medical facilities sprouted in Imperial hospitals, curing diseases the Zarin had thought untreatable. Human engineers demonstrated power systems that drew energy directly from quantum fluctuations, ending resource conflicts that had plagued the Empire for centuries. On border worlds where Imperial control had always been tenuous, human diplomats appeared, offering membership in a new kind of interstellar society, one based on mutual growth rather than dominance. Many accepted immediately, having watched the Empire's power structure calcify over centuries. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came again across the quantum network. "We could destroy your empire. Our weapons could reduce your worlds to quantum uncertainty, leaving them in states of existence, and non-existence simultaneously. But that was never our goal. In the council chamber, Marcus continued, "You feared we would become powerful enough to threaten you. Instead, we've become powerful enough not to need to. The question isn't whether you'll surrender to us. It's whether you'll join us in becoming something greater than either of our species imagined." Selvin, looking at the displays showing human ships throughout Imperial space, remembered his ancestors' final words about humanity. Vexthor hadn't just warned about their return. He had predicted that they would transcend the very concepts of victory and defeat. The High Council faced a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. The humans hadn't come to conquer. They had come to transform. Their very presence proved that the Empire's greatest fear had been misplaced. They shouldn't have feared what humanity might become. They should have feared what they themselves would remain. Stagnant, trapped by their own fears, unable to imagine the possibilities that humanity had embraced. 1 year after humanity's return, the galaxy was transforming in ways that would have been unimaginable to previous generations. The Great Hall of Unity Station, a massive structure orbiting Earth, hosted representatives from hundreds of worlds, both former imperial territories and independent civilizations drawn to the promise of a new era. High Commander Selvin, now serving as the Zeran representative to the Galactic Council, found himself seated beside Admiral Rodriguez. His crystalline scales shimmered with a mix of colors that reflected the complexity of his emotions. The station itself was a testament to how far humanity had come. It existed partially in quantum space, its vast chambers seemingly infinite from the inside, while appearing modest from without. "Did you ever imagine this day would come?" Rodriguez asked, her neural interfaces gleaming softly as she processed both their verbal conversation and the quantum data streams flowing through the station. "Not like this," Selvin admitted. "When my ancestor spoke of your return, he imagined warfare beyond comprehension. Instead, you brought transformation beyond imagination." The changes throughout former imperial space had been profound. Human quantum technology had revolutionized everything from medicine to manufacturing. Worlds that had been resource-poor under imperial rule now flourished with zero-point energy systems. Species that had been subjugated for centuries found themselves elevated as equals in the new galactic community. Dr. Marcus Chen, now heading the Quantum Integration Initiative, approached the central platform. The assembled delegates fell silent as he prepared to present the latest breakthrough in human-Zeran cooperation. "We've successfully merged human quantum consciousness technology with Zeran crystalline computing," he announced. "The result is something neither of our species could have achieved alone, a way to share not just thoughts and memories, but entire perspectives and ways of being." The demonstration that followed left even the most skeptical delegates in awe. A human scientist and a Zeran crystal smith linked their consciousness, their merged expertise creating new forms of matter that existed between reality and possibility. It was a powerful symbol of what cooperation could achieve. But not all was perfect in this new era. In the outer regions of former imperial space, some colonies refused to accept the changes. They clung to old fears and prejudices, seeing humanity's return as the apocalypse their ancestors had dreaded. These holdouts presented a unique challenge. How could a civilization that had transcended traditional power dynamics deal with those who refused to evolve? Admiral Rodriguez addressed this issue before the council. "We face a choice that will define our future. We could force compliance. Our technology certainly makes that possible. But that would make us no better than the empire that once tried to destroy us. Instead, we must prove through example that evolution is preferable to stagnation." The solution came from an unexpected source. Dr. Aisha Hassan's descendants in the Genesis colony had developed a way to make quantum evolution visible, literally showing living beings the potential paths their species could take. When this technology was shared with the holdout colonies, many found their fears transformed into fascination. On Earth, now restored to a paradise that exceeded its pre-Exodus state, humanity had built a monument unlike any other. The quantum memorial didn't just record history. It allowed visitors to experience the quantum echoes of the past. People could feel the terror of the Exodus, the determination of the survival years, and the triumph of return. But more importantly, they could experience the wisdom those events had taught. As the council session neared its end, a group of young Zeran graduates from the First Quantum Academy approached Admiral Rodriguez. Their scales showed patterns of color that would have been impossible in their ancestors, signs of genetic evolution sparked by exposure to human quantum technology. "We want to explore beyond known space," their spokesperson announced. "Our ancestors feared change so much they tried to destroy yours. We want to prove we've moved beyond that fear." Rodriguez smiled, remembering her own ancestors' journey into the unknown. "The galaxy is infinite," she said, "and infinity is just the beginning of what's possible." The final act of the council session was to officially dissolve the last remnants of the imperial system. But this wasn't a moment of humiliation for the Zeran. It was a graduation. They had evolved from would-be destroyers to co-creators of a new galactic civilization. As the session ended, Selvin and Rodriguez stood at Unity Station's quantum observation deck, watching the swirling patterns of space-time itself. The barrier between normal space and quantum reality had become permeable, allowing them to see the infinite possibilities that lay before them. "Your ancestors feared we would destroy their empire," Rodriguez mused. "They never considered we might help them transcend it." Selvin's scales shifted to a new color, one that had no name in the old imperial language. "Perhaps that was the greatest gift you gave us," he replied. "Not the technology or the power, but the ability to imagine something better than what we were." As they spoke, ships of human and Zeran design, along with vessels from dozens of other species, departed Unity Station. They carried the seeds of their combined civilization to the stars, not to conquer or control, but to explore and evolve. The galaxy was entering an age of transformation, and the descendants of both the hunters and the hunted would face it together, united by the understanding that the greatest power wasn't the ability to destroy or dominate, but the courage to change and grow. The human race had not just survived. They had shown the galaxy a new way to exist. And in doing so, they had achieved something far greater than victory. They had created a future where the very concepts of victory and defeat had become as obsolete as the fears that had once driven them apart.